The first time their eyes met, the room seemed to tilt. Power sat in a tailored suit, quiet and absolute. Fate wore a waitress's uniform, hands steady, gaze unreadable. Something ancient stirred between them. Danger, gravity. Well, he felt it before he understood it. She did too, though she didn't know why. That moment didn't explode. IT settled, and nothing that settles like that ever leaves peacefully. Please like, share, and subscribe. The hotel overlooked the Han River, all glass and restraint, its silence bought with money and fear. By late afternoon, the private dining floor had been cleared for one man and his entourage. No signage, no staff chatter, just the hum of climate control and the soft click of polished shoes. Kang Joon-Seo arrived without ceremony. He never announced himself. He didn't need to. Men stood straighter as he passed. Conversations ended before he reached them. He wore black, always black, and nothing about him suggested hurry. The kind of man who owned time, not the other way around. He took the central table by the window. Outside, the river moved. Inside, the world held its breath. Across the room, Amani adjusted the tray against her palm and reminded herself to breathe. She had worked this hotel for 8 months, long enough to know which guests tipped well, which ones liked eye contact, which ones demanded silence. She had learned to read men in expensive suits like weather. This one felt like a storm that hadn't decided whether to break. Her manager leaned in, voice low. That table only. Minimal words. You don't speak unless spoken to. Amani nodded. She didn't ask his name. She already knew. Later that evening, she crossed the room with controlled steps, posture neutral, face calm. The first pour of water. The placement of cutlery. Every movement deliberate, invisible, until he looked up. Kang Joon-Seo's gaze caught her mid-motion. It wasn't predatory. It wasn't warm. It was focused. His dark eyes lingered on her face a moment too long. Not scanning. Not dismissing. As if he were listening to something only he could hear. Amani felt it like a hand at the base of her spine. She didn't flinch. She set the glass down. Still or sparkling, sir? Her voice was steady, polite, unafraid. That was new. Joon-Seo didn't answer immediately. The men at his table waited. They always waited. Still, he said finally. She poured. As she did, he noticed her hands. Long fingers. No tremor. A faint scar near the thumb. Old and pale. Not the hands of someone who startled easily. Your name, he said. It wasn't a question. Amani paused for exactly half a second. Amani. He nodded, as if confirming something. When she stepped away, the absence felt wrong. Joon-Seo's second-in-command leaned closer. Is there a problem? No, Joon-Seo said. But his eyes followed her retreating figure until she disappeared through the service doors. That night, after the meeting dissolved and the cars rolled out in quiet precision, Joon-Seo remained seated, untouched tea cooling beside him. He replayed the moment again. Not her face. Not her body. Her stillness. Later that night, Amani stood at the staff lockers, loosening her tie with a tired sigh. Her reflection stared back at her. Dark skin glowing under harsh fluorescent light, eyes sharp despite the long shift. You see him? Another waitress whispered, breathless. That guy at the window? Amani nodded. They say he owns half the city. Amani said nothing. She didn't believe in rumors. She believed in what she could measure. And she couldn't measure the way her pulse had quickened when he spoke her name. The next morning, the hotel buzzed with quiet excitement. Security doubled. Managers whispered. Joon-Seo was staying. Presidential suite. Indefinite. Amani found out when her name appeared on the VIP service rotation. She stared at the list for a long moment. Lucky, someone murmured behind her. Amani didn't feel lucky. She felt chosen. Days passed. Every morning, she delivered breakfast to the suite. Every evening, she returned with tea or a late dinner. Their exchanges were brief. Professional. Controlled. But his eyes always followed her. And he always remembered something. Less sugar, he said once, when she set the cup down. She hadn't asked. Another time, You favor your left side when you're tired. She froze. I observe, he added calmly. She met his gaze, then truly met it. You shouldn't, she said softly. The corner of his mouth lifted. Not a smile. A promise. Too late. By the end of the week, the staff noticed. The way he dismissed others but tolerated her presence. The way his guards relaxed when she entered the room. The way his attention sharpened instead of drifting. One evening, as rain streaked the windows, he spoke again. Sit. Amani hesitated. That's not allowed, she said. I allow it. She weighed the room. The guards. The closed door. Then she sat. Across from him. Spine straight. Silence stretched. What did you do before this? He asked. Lived, she said. He considered that. You don't ask questions. I've learned not to. From who? From people who didn't deserve answers. His gaze darkened. You are not afraid of me. I didn't say that. But you're still here. Yes. Another silence. Outside, thunder rolled. Do you know who I am? He asked. Yes. And you still meet my eyes. I meet everyone's eyes. A pause. Then, quietly, that's a mistake. Maybe, she said, but it's mine. Something shifted then. Not desire. Recognition. That night, after she left, Joon-Seo stood alone by the window, city lights burning beneath him like a kingdom. He called his head of security. Find out everything about Amani. A beat. Sir? Discreetly. He ended the call and loosened his cuffs. He had built empires. Broken men. Survived betrayals that would have ended others. And yet, a waitress with steady hands had unsettled him more than any enemy. Across the city, Amani lay awake, rain tapping against her apartment window, her thoughts refusing rest. She didn't know why his presence followed her home. She didn't know why her instincts, sharp, honed, hadn't told her to run. She only knew one thing. Whatever Kang Joon-Seo wanted from her, it wasn't small. And it wasn't safe. The next morning, the hotel doors opened to an unexpected arrival, another man stepping into Joon-Seo's orbit, eyes already searching the room. And when his gaze landed on Amani, his smile was immediate. Too immediate. From the suite above, Kang Joon-Seo watched the interaction on a security monitor, his expression unreadable. His hand tightened slowly at his side. Something had begun. And he was not accustomed to sharing. The man introduced himself with confidence that filled the lobby before his voice did. Min-jae, he said, flashing an easy smile at the concierge. Designer coat. Open posture. The kind of charm that asked permission only after it had already taken space. Amani noticed him because he noticed her. His eyes lingered, not with menace, but interest. Warm. Curious. Human. Good morning, he said as she passed, adjusting his cufflinks. You work here? She slowed, polite reflex kicking in. Yes, sir. I was hoping you'd say that, he replied lightly. I'm meeting someone important. Think you could point me toward the elevators that don't require 3 layers of security? Amani hesitated. All elevators are monitored. He laughed. Of course they are. From the upper floor, Kang Joon-Seo watched Min-jae's smile bloom on the security feed. Watched Amani pause. Watched her respond. Something cold slid through his chest. Later that afternoon, Joon-Seo summoned Min-jae to the suite. They had done business before. Not allies. Not enemies. A tolerated presence. Min-jae entered with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. You're looking well, he said. Power suits you. Joon-Seo gestured to a seat. Sit. Min-jae did, crossing one ankle over the other. Your hotel is impressive. Staff too. Joon-Seo's gaze sharpened. What do you want? Min-jae chuckled. Straight to it. I like that. I want a partnership. Expansion south. Shared logistics. And I want to know why you've locked down an entire floor for one waitress. Silence fell heavy. Joon-Seo didn't blink. Careful. Min-jae raised his hands. No offense. Just curiosity. She's interesting. That was the wrong word. Joon-Seo stood slowly. She is not part of any negotiation. Min Jae's smile thinned. Everything is. That evening, Amani found Min Jae waiting near the staff exit. Stalking is frowned upon, she said calmly. He laughed. Then I'll call it coincidence. She stepped past him, but he matched her pace. You're different from the others here. Everyone says that. Do they mean it? She stopped. Turned. What do you want? To take you to dinner, he said simply. Not as a guest. As a woman. Her heart beat once hard. I don't date guests. I won't be one for long. From the shadows, a black sedan idled. Inside, Joon-Seo watched through tinted glass, jaw set. When Amani shook her head, Min Jae leaned closer, voice low. She didn't step back, but she didn't lean in either. Joon-Seo opened the car door before his driver could stop him. He stepped into the open air. Amani, he said. She turned, surprised. Min Jae straightened. Boss, he greeted smoothly. Joon-Seo ignored him. You're finished for the night. Amani frowned. I still have. You're finished, he repeated, softer now. I'll have a car take you home. Min Jae laughed under his breath. You don't own her. Joon-Seo finally looked at him. No. Amani felt the air shift. But I do decide who stands as close to me, Joon-Seo continued. And tonight, that isn't you. Min Jae's eyes flicked between them. Something calculating sparked. Enjoy your evening, he said, backing away. Both of you. The ride home was silent. Amani sat stiffly in the back seat, hands folded. Joon-Seo sat opposite her, knees angled toward her without thinking. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, he replied. I did. She met his gaze. Why? The city lights streaked past the windows. Because he doesn't see limits, Joon-Seo said. And you deserve them. Her voice softened despite herself. You don't know what I deserve. I know what I won't allow. The car stopped outside her building. She hesitated before opening the door. This can't continue. He nodded. I know. Neither moved. Then, quietly, good night, Amani. Good night. She stepped out. As the car pulled away, Joon-Seo closed his eyes. He had crossed a line, and Min Jae would not forget it. 3 days later, Amani was reassigned. Not fired. Not promoted. Transferred. From service to private guest liaison. Answering directly to one client, Kang Joon-Seo. She stared at the memo, pulse racing. This was not subtle. That night, she stood in the suite again, this time without a tray. You asked for me, she said. Joon-Seo faced the window. I did. This isn't appropriate. He turned. Nothing about this is. Silence thickened. I don't want protection, she said. I don't want favors. What do you want? She hesitated. Then, honestly, to understand why you're looking at me like I'm a problem you can't solve. His expression shifted, something raw flickering beneath control. Because you are, he said. The city thundered below them, and somewhere in the building, a security alarm chimed softly, unnoticed. Above them, unseen, someone watched the suite feed intently, waiting. The alarm chimed again, soft, almost polite. Amani noticed it this time. Her eyes flicked to the ceiling, then to Joon-Seo. What was that? Nothing you need to worry about, he said automatically. She didn't like automatic answers. You say that too easily. Joon-Seo crossed the room and tapped a control panel. The sound ceased. His movements were calm, but his focus sharpened, attention shifting inward. Amani, he said, turning back to her. This role, your reassignment, it comes with conditions. Her shoulders squared. I didn't agree to conditions. You agreed to proximity the moment you kept meeting my eyes. That's not consent. No, he said quietly. It's curiosity. The word landed between them. I won't be controlled, she said. He studied her. Then don't be. Silence followed, heavier than before. Tell me why, she said at last. Why me? Joon-Seo exhaled slowly. Because you are unafraid in rooms where fear is currency. Because you move like someone who has survived something and learned when to be still. Because when I look at you, I don't feel watched. I feel seen. Her breath caught just slightly. That's dangerous, she whispered. Yes, he agreed. For both of us. Later that night, Amani lay awake in her apartment, staring at the ceiling. She replayed his words. The way he hadn't reached for her. The way his restraint felt more intimate than touch. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Are you safe? She stared at it. Another followed. If you are near him, you should not be. Her fingers hovered. Then she typed. Who is this? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Someone who knows what happens to people he keeps. She didn't respond. The next morning, Joon-Seo's intelligence chief stood rigid across from him. Your guest liaison received a message last night, the man said. From a masked number. Joon-Seo's eyes darkened. Track it. We did. It routes back to Min Jae's network. A slow anger unfurled. He's testing boundaries, the chief added. He's crossing them, Joon-Seo replied. Across town, Min Jae watched the city wake from a balcony, phone in hand, smile thin. She's closer than you think, he murmured to himself. Days passed. Amani accompanied Joon-Seo everywhere. Meetings, quiet dinners, late-night drives through districts that never slept. She learned when to speak, and when silence carried more weight. And she learned something else. He never touched her without permission. Not even accidentally. That restraint began to haunt her. One evening, after a long negotiation, they stood alone in the sweet kitchen, the city glowing beyond the glass. You don't sleep, she observed. Neither do you, he replied. Night feels safer. He turned toward her. Why? Because it's honest. He considered that. So is danger. Their proximity narrowed. Not by design. By gravity. Her breath brushed his collarbone. He didn't move. If you step closer, he said softly, I won't stop you. Her heart thundered. She stepped back. Relief and disappointment flickered across his face. Good, he said. Not yet. That night, Min Jae made his move. Not with force. With exposure. A story leaked. Whispers of a waitress turned consort. Insinuations of favoritism, of control. Nothing provable. All poisonous. By morning, Amani felt the shift. Looks lingered. Voices hushed. She confronted Joon-Seo in the suite, anger sharp. You said you wouldn't control me. I didn't, he said. This isn't from me. Then fix it. I will. How? His jaw tightened. By ending it. Her chest tightened. Ending what? This arrangement. You'll return to your former role. Public distance. Her voice wavered. Is that what you want? No, he said honestly. But it's what keeps you safe. Silence stretched. So, I'm a liability now. You are a target, he corrected. She turned away. I won't be hidden. You won't be harmed. You don't get to decide that. Her voice echoed off glass and steel. Joon-Seo closed the distance then, stopping inches away. I decide who lives long enough to regret their choices, he said quietly. And I will not let that be you. Her eyes burned. Then trust me. He hesitated. That hesitation was everything. I can't, he said. She stepped back, wounded. Then this ends. She walked out. By evening, Min Jae was waiting. I warned you, he said gently, offering her coffee across a small table. Neutral ground. Public cafe. You engineered this, she said. Yes, he admitted. Because I wanted to see if he'd choose you. And Min Jae smiled. He chose his empire. Amani's phone buzzed. A single message from Joon-Seo. Come back. Please. She stared at it, heart breaking in quiet pieces. Across the city, alarms began to trigger. Real ones this time. Joon-Seo stood in the operations room as screens lit up red. Sir, his chief said grimly. We have movement. Multiple teams. They're coming tonight. Joon-Seo's gaze hardened. Get her, he said. Now. And somewhere between a cafe table and a city that no longer slept, Amani felt the air change, as if fate itself had taken a breath, and was about to strike. Night fell fast, like a curtain dropping without warning. Amani left the cafe with her coat pulled tight, Min-jae's parting smile still burning behind her eyes. The city hummed around her, traffic, neon, voices, but something underneath it all felt wrong. Too quiet. Too expectant. Her phone buzzed again. "Where are you?" Joon-Seo. She didn't answer. Not yet. She needed air. Distance. Something that belonged to her alone. She walked. 2 blocks later, a black car eased alongside the curb. Her instincts flared. The window lowered just enough to reveal a familiar face, Joon-Seo's head of security. "Miss Amani," he said urgently. "Please. Get in. Now." She froze. "What's happening?" "Not here." She glanced down the street, then back at the car. "Is this about him?" she asked. The man didn't hesitate. "Yes." That was enough. Inside the car, the doors locked with a heavy finality. The vehicle pulled into traffic, moving fast but controlled. "Joon-Seo," she asked. "He's safe. For now." Her chest tightened. "You said I wasn't in danger." "You weren't," the man replied grimly. "Until tonight." Across the river, Kang Joon-Seo stood in his penthouse suite, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled, hands braced on the glass. The city sprawled beneath him like a living thing. "They're splitting into 3 teams, his chief reported. Hotel, warehouse, and her," Joon-Seo finished. "Yes." Joon-Seo closed his eyes for half a second. "This is my fault," he said quietly. "No," the chief replied. "This is Min-jae declaring war." Joon-Seo straightened. "Then it ends tonight." Minutes later, the car pulled into a private underground garage beneath a medical complex Joon-Seo quietly funded. Amani was ushered through sterile halls into a secure room, soft lighting, no windows, 2 guards outside. She crossed her arms, anger and fear tangling in her chest. Minutes passed. Then the door opened. Joon-Seo stepped inside. Unharmed. Controlled. Furious beneath the surface. For a moment neither spoke. Then she moved, crossing the room in quick strides, and slapped him. The sound cracked through the quiet. The guards outside stiffened. Joon-Seo didn't flinch. "You said you'd keep me safe," she said, voice shaking. "You said you wouldn't decide for me." His jaw tightened. "I tried." "You failed." "Yes," he said. "I did." Her breath hitched at the honesty. "They're using me," she whispered. "They're trying to," he corrected. "It won't work." She laughed bitterly. "Because you'll burn the city down first?" He stepped closer. "If that's what it takes." Silence fell. Then, softer, "I never wanted you in this world." "And yet," she said, eyes shining, "you pulled me into it." He nodded. "And I won't let it take you." Her anger cracked, something raw spilling through. "I don't want to be your weakness." "You're not," he said. "You're my reason." The words stunned them both. His hand lifted, hovering near her face, but he stopped, fist curling as he pulled back. "I can't touch you," he said. "Not like this. Not while there's blood on the path between us." Tears burned her eyes. "Then tell me the truth." He met her gaze. "I want you. Not quietly. Not temporarily. And that terrifies me more than any enemy." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm already afraid you'll regret this." He shook his head. "I regret every life I didn't live before you." The building shuddered faintly, distant, controlled explosions disabling power grids. Joon-Seo's phone buzzed continuously, ignored. Amani stepped closer, closing the space he'd left. "If tonight is the end," she said, "I don't want it to end with distance." He inhaled sharply. "Amani." She rose on her toes and kissed him. It was brief. Unsteady. A promise, not a claim. He froze for one heartbeat. Then his hands came up, gentle, reverent, cupping her face as if she were something breakable. The world narrowed. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "This changes everything," he murmured. "Good," she replied. He nodded once, decision hardening. "Stay here. No matter what you hear." "What if you don't come back?" He met her eyes. Then you will live.
Free.
Far from this. She swallowed. And if you do? A rare, soft smile touched his lips. Then I'll spend the rest of my life earning that kiss. He turned and left before she could say more. Hours passed in fragments, murmured updates, footsteps, tension thick as smoke. Near dawn, the door opened again. Joon-Seo stepped inside, jacket torn, blood on his knuckles that wasn't his. It's over, he said. She sagged with relief. Min-jae's network had been dismantled. His allies scattered. His power broken. But Min-jae himself was gone. Joon-Seo watched Amani carefully. This isn't finished. She nodded slowly. Neither are we. Outside, the city greeted the morning like nothing had happened. But everything had changed. And somewhere in the quiet aftermath, Min-jae watched from afar, wounded, furious, and very much alive, waiting for the moment to strike back. Morning arrived thin and gray, light seeping through the city like an afterthought. Amani stood by the window of the secure apartment Joon-Seo had moved her into overnight. It wasn't the hotel. This place was quieter. Real. A high-rise overlooking a residential district, far from his usual territory. Too far, maybe. She wrapped her arms around herself, watching people walk dogs, buy coffee, live. Behind her, Joon-Seo's presence filled the room without sound. You didn't sleep, he said. Neither did you. He didn't deny it. By mid-morning, news reports filtered through, carefully worded mentions of corporate disputes and internal reorganizations. Nothing about attempted assassinations. Nothing about Min-jae. Power erased its own messes. Joon-Seo's phone buzzed constantly. He ignored most of it. This can't be permanent, Amani said finally. He leaned against the counter. Nothing is. That's not comforting. No, he agreed. But it's honest. She turned to face him. You said I could live free. You still can. By hiding. By choosing, he corrected. I won't force you to stay. The words were right. The tone wasn't. You're already pulling away, she said quietly. He met her gaze. I'm trying not to lose you. That's the same thing. Silence pressed in. By afternoon, Joon-Seo left for meetings he couldn't postpone. Guards remained, unobtrusive but present. Amani hated how quickly she noticed his absence. That evening, the doorbell rang. The guard checked first, then stepped aside. A woman entered, tall, elegant, dressed in muted gray. Her eyes were sharp, assessing. I'm Seo Lena, she said. Joon-Seo's legal counsel. Amani nodded. Amani. I know. Lena smiled faintly. I wanted to see you. Why? Because your name is now attached to several risks, Lena replied calmly. And because he's making decisions he never has before. Amani folded her arms. Is that a warning? It's an observation, Lena said. Men like him don't bend. They break the world instead. And you're here to tell me to leave. Lena considered her. I'm here to tell you that if you stay, it will cost him. Amani's chest tightened. And if I go, it will cost him more, Lena said softly. Night fell again. Joon-Seo returned late. Tension coiled tight beneath his skin. She came to see you, he said. Yes. His jaw flexed. What did she say? That you're changing. A beat. She's right. They stood a few feet apart, distance charged. I can't be a secret, Amani said. And I won't be a weapon. You're neither, he replied. Then what am I to you? The question hung between them, dangerous and unavoidable. Joon-Seo exhaled slowly. You are the one place my control fails. Her voice softened. That's not an answer. He crossed the room then, stopping just short of touching her. I've built my life on leverage and consequence. Loving you removes both. The word landed hard. Loving. She searched his face. Say it again. He hesitated, just once, then nodded. I love you. Her breath caught, fear and longing colliding. And what happens when this destroys you? Then it was worth it. Tears blurred her vision. I don't want to be the reason you fall. I was already falling, he said. You just gave it a direction. She stepped into him. This time he didn't stop her. His hands settled at her waist, careful, reverent. Her forehead rested against his chest, listening to the steady proof of him. When he kissed her, it was slow, unrushed, as if the world could wait. They moved together without urgency, drawn by something deeper than desire. Later, in the quiet dark, they lay tangled in sheets, city lights blinking beyond the glass. No words, just shared breath, shared warmth. Fade to black. Morning came with a weight in her chest. Amani woke alone. A note rested on the bedside table. I had to leave before dawn. This isn't regret. It's protection. Trust me. Her phone buzzed before she could process it. An unknown number. You chose him. Her blood ran cold. Another message followed. Now choose how much he loses. Outside, somewhere beyond the reach of guards and promises, Min-jae smiled. The game wasn't over. It had only just begun. The message stayed on Amani's screen long after the phone dimmed. She sat on the edge of the bed, the imprint of Joon-seo's absence still warm beside her. Protection, he'd said. Trust me. Trust had never felt so fragile. By midday, she was back at the hotel, officially on leave, unofficially restless. Familiar halls grounded her. Routine steadied her breathing. That was when she saw Min-jae. Not hiding, not rushing, waiting. He stood near the lobby bar, casual, immaculate, as if the city hadn't burned around him days earlier. His eyes lifted the moment she appeared. I was hoping you'd come somewhere predictable, he said, rising with a smile. Her pulse quickened, but her voice stayed level. You're trespassing. So are you, he replied. In his world. She didn't sit. What do you want? To talk, Min-jae said. Alone. Say it here. His gaze flicked to the nearby patrons. You don't want that. She crossed her arms. Try me. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. He can't win this cleanly. Every move he makes to protect you exposes him. Every move he makes to protect himself leaves you vulnerable. She met his eyes. You're the vulnerability. He smiled. I'm the truth. That afternoon, Joon-seo learned where she was. His car tore through traffic, control cracking at the edges. By the time he entered the lobby, Min-jae was already gone. Amani stood alone, shaking with contained fury. What were you thinking? Joon-seo demanded, pulling her into a quiet corridor. Thinking I won't be bait, she snapped. Thinking I won't hide while you fight shadows. He's provoking you. Then stop letting him. His voice dropped. I can't predict him. Then predict me, she said. I won't disappear. Silence fell. You should leave the city, he said finally. For a while. Her eyes widened. You want me to run. I want you alive. I want us honest. He looked at her then, really looked, and something in his expression broke. If you stay, he said quietly, I will lose control. Then lose it with me, she replied. That night, Min-jae escalated. Documents surfaced, real this time. Proof of Joon-seo's reach into corporate boards, political favors, hidden accounts. Enough to dismantle his empire if released fully. A countdown began. 48 hours. Joon-seo gathered his inner circle. We can contain this, Lena said. But not without concessions. I won't give him her, Joon-seo said flatly. Lena met his gaze. Then you give him yourself. Across the city, Amani packed a small bag, not to flee, but to choose. When Joon-seo returned, she was waiting. I know, she said before he could speak. All of it. His shoulders sagged. I tried to shield you. I don't want a shield, she said, stepping closer. I want the truth. He took her hands, grounding himself. He wants me exposed. Weak. Public. And you? I want you safe, he said. Even if it costs me everything. Her voice trembled. What if it costs us? He had no answer. They held each other that night like it might be the last time, slow, aching, memorizing. At dawn, Joon-seo left to face the storm. Amani watched the city wake, heart pounding. Somewhere, Min-jae prepared to release the final blow. And this time, there would be no shadows left to hide in. By morning, the city felt sharpened, every sound too clear, every movement edged with consequence. Amani left the apartment before the guards could stop her. Not running, not hiding, choosing. She moved through the streets with purpose, coat pulled tight, phone silent in her pocket. Joon-Seo would notice her absence soon. He would panic. He would try to pull her back into safety shaped like a cage. She couldn't let him. Because Min-jae was right about one thing. Every move Joon-Seo made for her was another crack in his armor. And she loved him too much to be the blade that slipped through. By noon, the first leak hit. Financial ties. Offshore accounts. Sanitized enough to pass as journalism. Dangerous enough to start fires. Screens lit up across the city. Inside a secure boardroom, Kang Joon-Seo watched the headlines roll in without blinking. Phase 2, Lena said quietly. He's accelerating. Let him, Joon-Seo replied. Divert assets. Lock down operations. And Amani? Lena asked. Joon-Seo's jaw tightened. Find her. She was already gone. Amani arrived at a small, unremarkable building on the city's edge, a community center she volunteered at on rare free days. The place smelled like coffee and old paper. Safe. Familiar. Min-jae was waiting inside. You came alone, he observed. She didn't sit. Say what you want. He studied her, something like respect flickering. You understand leverage. I understand consequences, she replied. End this. He laughed softly. I can't. Not now. Then I will. She met his gaze without flinching. You want him broken? Fine. But you don't get to use me. Min-jae's smile faded. You think you can bargain? I think you want to win, she said. And you won't if he dies with his empire intact. Silence stretched. You love him, Min-jae said finally. Yes. That's unfortunate. He stepped closer. Because I don't plan to let either of you walk away. Across the city, Joon-Seo's phone buzzed with a location ping. His breath hitched. He was already moving before the call ended. By late afternoon, the leaks intensified. Political allies distanced themselves. Boards called emergency meetings. Stock prices trembled. Joon-Seo made his decision. Release everything, he told Lena. All of it. She stared. That will destroy you. Yes. Joon-Seo. It ends today, he said. Or it never ends. He stepped to the podium that evening as cameras flashed and reporters shouted. No guards. No intermediaries. Just him. I have benefited from silence, he said into the microphones. From systems designed to protect men like me. That ends now. The city held its breath. I am stepping down from all corporate leadership effective immediately. All assets will be placed under independent oversight. Shock rippled outward. This wasn't damage control. This was surrender. In the community center, Min-jae watched the broadcast, expression tightening. He's sacrificing himself, he murmured. Amani's heart pounded. Let it end. Min-jae turned to her slowly. It can't. He raised his phone. A video queued up. Amani on the street. Amani entering the building. Live feed. Her blood ran cold. You're my insurance, Min-jae said softly. If he finishes this, you disappear. No, she whispered. Yes, he said. And he'll know it was the price. The door burst open. Joon-Seo stood there, chest heaving, eyes blazing. Let her go, he said. Min-jae smiled. You found us. Joon-Seo stepped forward, hands open. This ends now. Min-jae's finger hovered over the screen. You already ended it. I'm just collecting. Amani met Joon-Seo's gaze. In that look, everything passed between them, love, regret, choice. She shook her head once. Don't. Joon-Seo ignored it. Take me, he said. Not her. Min-jae laughed. Too late. Sirens wailed in the distance. Joon-Seo lunged. The room exploded into motion. Guards. Shouts. Chaos. In the confusion, Amani moved, fast, precise, toward Min-jae's wrist. Something flashed in her hand. A needle. One clean motion. Min-jae gasped, collapsing as the tranquilizer took hold. Silence fell. Amani stood shaking, the needle dropping from her fingers. Joon-Seo crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. "You're safe," he breathed. "You're safe." She clutched him back, tears breaking free. "I didn't want you to lose everything." He held her tighter. "I would lose it all again." Outside, police lights washed the building in red and blue. Min-jae was taken away, alive, defeated, exposed. But as Joon-Seo looked down at Amani, relief mingled with fear. Because the cost had already been paid. And there was still one final reckoning left, with the world that now knew exactly who he was. And what he was willing to give up for love. The aftermath moved slower than the chaos that caused it. Amani sat wrapped in a blanket inside the back of an unmarked car, hands still trembling despite the calm voices around her. The needle gone. Min-jae gone. The danger mostly gone. Mostly. Joon-Seo sat across from her, eyes never leaving her face, as if looking away might make her vanish. "You were trained," he said quietly. She nodded once. "Long ago. It wasn't supposed to matter again." "It matters," he replied. "It saved your life. It saved mine." Her voice was small. "I didn't want you to see that part of me." He leaned forward. "There is no part of you I don't want." Days passed under heavy watch. The media storm intensified. Analysts debated Joon-Seo's unprecedented public confession. Some called it strategic. Others called it surrender. Enemies circled. Without his empire's full weight behind him, old rivals tested boundaries. Threats arrived, coded, indirect, constant. Joon-Seo moved Amani again. This time, somewhere quieter. A coastal house outside the city, waves breaking against rock, sky wide and unforgiving. "You're isolating yourself," Lena warned over the phone. "I'm prioritizing," Joon-Seo replied. Amani felt it too, the narrowing of his world. One evening, as the sun bled into the sea, she confronted him. "You gave up everything," she said. "For me. For us. But what if resentment grows where power used to be?" He turned to her, eyes steady. "I've lived with power my whole life. I know its cost. I don't know the cost of losing you." She swallowed. "I don't want to be the reason you're hunted." He stepped closer, resting his forehead against hers. "You're the reason I stopped running." That night, danger came quietly. A car on the coastal road. Too slow. Too observant. Joon-Seo noticed first. He didn't reach for a weapon. He reached for Amani. "Inside," he said calmly. The car passed. Then returned. A warning. By morning, Lena called with grim news. "Someone leaked your location," she said. "Not Min-jae. Another faction." Joon-Seo exhaled. "Then it ends permanently." "What are you planning?" Lena asked. He looked at Amani as he answered. "I'm dismantling what's left. Every shadow. Every tie." "It will leave you ordinary," Lena said. A pause. Then, "I know." Amani watched him make the calls. Sign documents. Transfer assets. Step away from power piece by piece. Each signature felt like a door closing. That evening, she found him alone on the terrace, the sea dark and endless. "You don't have to do this," she said. "Yes," he replied softly. "I do." She sat beside him. "What if one day you wake up and realize love wasn't enough?" He took her hand, pressing it over his heart. "If that day comes, I'll face it. But not choosing you would haunt me longer." Her eyes filled. "I'm scared." "So am I," he admitted. "But fear shared is lighter." She leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder. For the first time since they met, the future didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt fragile and precious. But somewhere beyond the horizon, the last remnants of Joon-Seo's past watched the waves too, deciding whether to let him go or drag him back one final time. The final threat didn't announce itself. It arrived as silence. No cars on the coastal road. No unfamiliar signals on Joon-Seo's secure lines. No whispers moving through the channels that once buzzed at the sound of his name. The absence felt deliberate. "They're deciding," Lena said over the phone. "Whether you're still worth chasing." Joon-Seo stood at the window, watching Amani walk barefoot along the shoreline below, her coat draped over one arm, hair lifted by the wind. "Let them decide," he replied. That night the decision came. Not in violence, but in surrender. A message was delivered through 3 intermediaries, verified and cross-checked. All claims withdrawn. All pursuits ended. "You're free."
Free.
The word felt unreal. By morning, confirmations followed. Assets returned quietly. Investigations closed. Rivals retreated to safer distances. Joon-Seo's past had finally let go. He found Amani in the kitchen, sunlight spilling across the floor as she brewed coffee like the world had always been this gentle. "It's over," he said. She turned slowly. Over? Yes." She searched his face for cracks, for the weight he always carried. For the first time, it wasn't there. She crossed the room and rested her forehead against his chest, listening. Still steady. Still real. He cupped her face. No guards. No moves. No more running. Her voice trembled. "Say it again." "We're safe." The weeks that followed felt like borrowed time, until they didn't. They stayed by the sea, learning each other without urgency. Mornings filled with quiet routines. Evenings with long conversations that wandered into laughter. Joon-Seo learned how she took her tea. Amani learned how he relaxed only when reading, never watching screens. One afternoon, as they walked the cliffs, Amani stopped suddenly. "What?" he asked. She took his hand and placed it over her heart. "I need to know something." He stilled. "Anything. If this life becomes small, will you resent me?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned her fully toward him. "I was raised to believe size was everything," he said. "Empire. Influence.
Fear."
He paused, pressing his forehead to hers. "But you taught me that depth matters more than reach." Her breath caught. "I choose depth," he finished. "I choose you." That night, he cooked for her, badly. She laughed until her sides hurt. Later, as they sat wrapped in blankets, the sea roaring below, Joon-Seo grew quiet. "There's something I need to do," he said. Her heart skipped. "That sounds dangerous." He smiled faintly. "Only emotionally." He stood, reached into his pocket, and knelt. Amani froze. "This wasn't how I planned my life," he said. "But it's the only future that feels true." He opened his hand. The ring was simple, elegant, unshowy. "Marry me," he said. Not as protection. Not as obligation. But as choice. Tears blurred her vision. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, laughing through tears. "Yes." He rose and kissed her, slow and certain, the ocean bearing witness. They married quietly. No press. No spectacle. Just a handful of people who mattered. Lena stood as witness, eyes soft with something like pride. The ceremony took place at dawn, waves whispering promises no one else could hear. When Amani walked toward him, Joon-Seo forgot how to breathe. "You look at me like I'm everything," she teased softly. He took her hands. "You are." Months passed. Life settled. And then one morning, Amani stood in the bathroom, staring at a small plastic test in disbelief. Her hands shook. She found Joon-Seo in the living room, reviewing a document he no longer needed to review. "We need to talk," she said. His body went still. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, then laughed, half sob, half joy. "I'm pregnant." For a moment he didn't move. Then he crossed the room in 3 steps and dropped to his knees in front of her, hands hovering, afraid to touch. "Say it again," he whispered. "I'm pregnant." A sound broke from him, something between laughter and a sob. He pressed his forehead to her stomach, eyes closed. "I will spend my life earning this," he said. "You already are," she replied, fingers threading through his hair. The years that followed were quieter than either expected. Joon-Seo never returned to power. He didn't need to. They built a life that didn't make headlines, but made meaning. And sometimes, late at night, when the sea was loud and the world felt distant, Amani would catch her with the same intensity as the first day they met. "What?" she'd ask. He'd smile softly. Fate was loud that day. She'd reach for his hand. And kind. Because once, in a room full of power and danger, two lives had collided and chosen love anyway. If this story meant something to you, support the channel with a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more cinematic love stories like this.